يا حبيبي انا بقدرش اطلع كل الناس هذول انا بدي اقل شيء ساعتين عقبال ما كلهم يطلعوا.
يا اخوي لو ما بتطلع انا بطوح.
انت طخ اللي بدك اياه سويه، اللي بتنزل الارض وتتلقاه.
لا اخوي لازم الواحد لازم يعمل كل شيء منشان ما تموت.
احنا بدنا
عندك مسؤوليه على الاطفال.
بدنا نموت، كل الاطفال لازم يموتوا.
لا سمح الله بدك تستشهد
عشان تبين بشاعتكم.
Fascinating. It's a phone call from the IDF, or from someone in the IDF talking to someone on the Palestinian side. The phone call was a warning, a straight up warning that they were going to bomb, the IDF, Israel was going to bomb a specific building. That building was housing Hamas. So there was planning, they were harboring terrorists, Hamas. There was equipment, intelligence, all happening in this specific building. The Palestinians insisted that it was really just a residential building, but it was holding all this activity happening in there. And there's rumor in it that there were some media in there, including American. I can't be sure about that. But if the media was in there, I refuse to believe that they didn't know that Hamas was in there, that this activity was happening in this particular building. But what the IDF was doing in that phone call was actually calling ahead of time. I think they gave them up to about an hour or 2 hours. And they said, please get everyone out of there. We're bringing that building down. We're going to blow it up. And the guy on the Palestinian side said, hey, you got to blow it up. You blow up whatever you want to blow up. He's like, dude, I mean, what do you want to die? And the guy said, we're ready to die. That was obviously an idle threat, because no one was in the building. But he says, okay, we're ready to die. And he's like, dude, I mean, you gotta think about the children that are, the IDF guy says, think about the children that are supposedly in that building. And he's like, hey, look, if the children have to die, they have to die. And he's like, God forbid, the IDF guy says, God forbid that something like that happens. And he says, well, that's fine. That's how we show the rest of the world your cruelty. How does that jive? My assumption is that this is the building, because there's several videos of this building coming down, this building getting hit. So the cameras were set up everywhere. So obviously a bunch of people knew that this building was going to be brought down. It does have what looks like some communications towers at the top of it. So we can assume that this is the building. And again, you can find multiple videos of this particular building coming down. Cameras were all focused on this building. And in fact, that guy that you saw there was a reporter. He seems to move exactly when, right when the bombs are coming in. So my thing is, who is actually the cruel one? If you call your supposed enemy and you say that please get out of that building, because we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring that building down. Please get out of that building. And then dude is like, no, dude, we're ready to die. And he says, well, think about the kids. And And they respond by saying, hey, if the kids have to die, they have to die because this is the way we show the cruelty, your cruelty to the world. So who's actually the cruel one? In this particular video, this is another angle. And you can see the almost nonchalantness of these people approaching that building. So again, that is another telltale sign that they evacuated the building. So they did listen. They're not stupid. They were just talking. That guy was talking a big game. Just talking a big game, because they know the propaganda is what is their biggest weapon. The rest of the world possibly believing that Israel is the bad guy in all this. So you can see the devastation of the building. You can see the people just kind of walking around. There is no kind of rescue effort. There's no desperation. There's hardly any, any screaming or anything. They're not. There is no real devastation. There's a building brought down. So again, they heeded the warning, obviously. And the guy talking the big game is very, very aware of propaganda being their biggest weapon. Right? And there's really, again, nothing to show here in this video other than a devastated building that needed to be brought down because it lessens the ability of Hamas to do what they've been doing in these recent days. Something that they could not obviously do. Obviously, they could not do unless Iran was funding it, supporting it, giving it blessing. And we can see that, or we can come to the conclusion that in the last 4 years, we did not hear a peep from these areas. And Hamas didn't seem to have any grasp on what they were, what they wanted to do with Israel. Because the whole point of what Hamas is interested in is wiping Israel off the face of the earth, which is the Iranian wet dream, right? That's the pipe dream, the Iranian pipe dream. And it's not the Iranian people. Let's be clear. The Iranian people are not the ones that are the issue. The Iranian people still love the United States. It hasn't been that long that the Iranian, that Persia looked like a really beautiful, very vibrant, very forward-moving place. It wasn't really that long ago. It's not the Iran that we know today. Remember, it was Persia then. Quick little side note for people that don't really know. It was Persia before it was Iran. Persia was doing just lovely until they met with Adolf Hitler. And Adolf Hitler and the Ayatollahs and what have you, they all kind of had the same little thing about Jews. And a little anti-Semitism going on. So they, Persia decided, hey man, we are so with you, Mr. Adolf. We are so with you that we will change our country's name. They changed their name. They changed the name of the country, much to the chagrin of the people. What's this all about? They changed their name of the country. Iran in the Arab world. Iran is Aryan. Iran means Aryan in the Arab world. Iran, Aryan. That paints a perfect picture as to why in 1938, in 1938, 1948, 1967, 2000, 2000 and 2001, and in 2008, each one of those years, Palestine was offered stateship. And their response, and this is not the Palestinian people, this is the leadership, the terrorist we know as Hamas. These people do not want stateship. They have said, we do not want stateship. We just don't want Israel to exist. That is the bottom line. So what the Palestinian government, Hamas, what they like to do is use the Palestinian people, the people of Palestine. I shouldn't say Palestinian people because, again, if you're not a state, I don't know what to tell you, man. But the people of Palestine are used as bumpers and propaganda tools. Now they've been doing this for some time now, but they're already in a generation. There were already 2 complete generations in that know nothing else but hatred for Israel and borderline hatred for the United States. Because many Palestinians do still come to the United States knowing that things are just going to be better for them here. And they can say anything they want because the United States is free and beautiful, strong to a fault. So they can come here and just spew their nonsense because they are not only have the right to do that, but they are protected to do that. Now, for 4 years, within the last 5 years, for the 4 years, we heard nothing from that region. In fact, some of the Arab world was actually embracing Israel. We can work together. There is positives here. We don't want to be a part of this nonsense that Iran is running on this running roughshod on the rest of the world. This hatred, this vicious hatred for Israel. So, for 4 years, we didn't hear anything except positive things happening in the Middle East. Because we got out of the Iran deal. And that's where the United States pays so that Iran doesn't make nuclear weapons. We pay them. We pay them so they don't make nuclear weapons. And Iran, again, I said earlier, they fund, support, give their blessing to all of Hamas's nastiness. They are their attack dog, if you will. Iran funds Hamas, support Hamas, apparently off of American dollars. Because for 4 years, nothing. Then we get back into the Iran deal. Bombs start to fly. The bombs start to fly. And then we get people like the squats quacks, whatever you want to call them, Ocasio-Cortez, Presley, Tlaib, Omar. You get those dunces talking about human rights, demanding human rights for the Palestinian people, demanding a free state for the Palestinian people. In the meantime, that is just fecal matter spewing from their mouth. I'm surprised people can even stand next to them because their mouths should smell from the crap that they're spewing out as far as human rights. The Palestinians have had time and time again nothing but opportunity to become a free state, to advance their country, to work with whoever they want to, and actually benefit from Israel. And work with whoever they want to. But they've turned it down. Said 8 times. They've turned down a free Palestine, an actual free state of Palestine. Simply because they want Israel wiped off. They want the Jew, not even Israel. It could probably remain Israel if there wasn't any Jews in it. The problem with the Jews is that there's too many Jews, right? That's the way they're looking at it. So, those 4 idiots, which are the face of idiots in our government, screaming about human rights for Palestine when their case for human rights is actually, or their case to defend themselves, or apparently being terrorized, is far weaker than people like the Kurds, the Uyghurs, the Chechens, the Tibetans. But the reason those 4 and many others demand human rights is simply because the supposed enemy of the Palestinians, the people of Palestine, are Jews. It's just that simple. And I have to. Here's the way I see things when it comes to the United States and Israel. My argument is that the United States would not exist without Israel. Here's why I say that. If the pilgrims, the people that came here, and the people that still come here, are believers in Christianity. Remember, the country itself, the United States itself, if you look at our Declaration of Independence, look at our Bill of Rights, how many times, God is mentioned, how many of the 10 Commandments are actually influencing the Bill of Rights, including the Declaration of Independence. All of those things. This country ran away from a king because they said we should not be listening to a king. We should make our own decisions. Our decisions are based on our Christian values. So they actually ran away from a king. And then they got to the point that they were here long enough, they were like, you know what? We're going to make our own country. And we're going to base everything on our Christian values. So, I don't care if you agree with it or not. The United States is here because of the Christian belief. And in the book of Exodus, we find out that the Israelites, they wandered for decades, for 40 years, and they landed in the spot that they remain in now. How many times did they have to go to war? How many times did they lost land? How many times did they gain land? How many times did they lost land? How many times did they give land back? How many? But they still remain from where they left the pharaohs and landed on that spot of land. Apparently, if you don't believe in God at all, there's a wild coincidence that they wandered for 40 years after hundreds of years of slavery and landed on a spot and have been challenged on that spot for so long and still remain there and have advanced, have grown, have strengthened. And there's hardly anyone more relentless in defending their land than the people that have been there since God took them from slavery and plopped them down on that spot. I don't care if you're not religious. I don't care what you believe. If you believe in just coincidences, then there has to be a coincidence on how those people were moved from slavery to that spot and have defended that spot, and have lived in that spot, grown, thrived, advanced in that spot. Tie them both together. God's son, born in Jerusalem. We follow the word. This country is based on following the word of God's son. The United States does not exist without Israel. So, that being said, neither here nor there. What is happening in Israel, what is happening in Palestine, is horrific. And I want to bottom line it for you. The United States is funding the perpetuation of this travesty. If nothing else, because all Israel ever asked for is just get out of our way. Because if I was leading in Israel, I would tell the United States to pretty much go to hell. To go to hell. Because this could not be happening if you were not supporting this indirectly. Because that's what it is, right? You're supporting it indirectly. You're giving money to Iran. Iran funds Hamas. Hamas does what they do. Lives. Land is being devastated. Lives are being lost. And the IDF, and if the IDF, if Israel was actually being the monsters that they say they were, then they wouldn't be calling to warn people that things are happening, and they pre-think. They know that this terrorist activity is going to happen. They know that. That's why the Iron Dome exists, right? At the idea that it's the concept of, since we do know it's going to happen, we don't want to keep striking back and just having to be put in a position where people are going to be dead. So we'll just kind of block their terrorist activity. We'll just kind of put up a shield. It's an incredible piece of technology, watching the Iron Dome do what it does. So if Israel was the monsters that everyone says that, or that so many say that they were, they wouldn't make a system to where they wouldn't have to strike back. They pre-thought, well, if they can't hit us, then we don't have to fight back as much, and we can use precision instead of just a barrage of just creating devastation. So there's that. And what I'm saying is that I am not going to choose that Israel devastate Palestine, because I don't believe that the Palestinian people, the people of Palestine, are bad people. They've been fed poison, and there's right now at this point two full generations that actually believe in the poison. If you don't know, they actually have children's television shows, morning television shows, teaching these children that the Israelis are, killing children, are taking land, are harvesting body parts, kidnapping, eating Palestinian children. All of this stuff is just taught from a very young age, and they use the paintbrush of children to the rest of the world now. Because if you watch, if you see any of the footage, you'll see 11, 5-year-olds, 3-year-olds talking about calling Israelis occupiers or terrorists, or telling them to get off of their land. They're speaking, and they speak as if they're preaching sermons. Their actual cadence is as if they're preaching sermons to the world about how devastating and how horrific the Israelis are. I will not. That is something that their choice, and I will not pick sides. I will support Israel's right to defend itself. Done and done. If Hamas indeed lobs rockets just willy-nilly, then Israel is indeed defending itself. It's defending itself. Like at the beginning of this show, you heard a phone call of a warning. Please get your people out of that building. We're bringing the building down because it is harboring equipment, it's harboring intelligence, but we don't want anyone hurt. All they're looking for is to take away the advantage, any advantage that they might have, that the enemy might have. And the enemy is not the Palestinian people, the enemy is indeed Hamas. So, prayers for the people of Palestine, the people in Palestine. I hope that a huge wave of light just covers your entire land and washes away the darkness. Because that is what is being forced upon you. And this hatred and this anger does not need to exist. Not for you. I pray for the people of Israel. Stay safe. I don't fear for you because I know it is very clear that you can defend yourself. God bless everyone in that region. I hope that that there is indeed one day actual peace in the Middle East. joining me. Ada Jet Noise. ADA Jet Noise. Catch me on Facebook, on YouTube, on rumble.com. ADA Jet Noise. Please subscribe. Hit like. Please comment. Challenge me by all means, because I don't have to be right. I just have to start the conversation. That is how we will get to the bottom, to get to the answers that we need in making a better world. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully again I'll see you again soon, because there's plenty to talk about. Plenty to talk about. We are in dark times, and talking about it, we will find brighter days. Till then, big hug. Be good. Be still. Enjoy your life.